Hello and welcome. So in this lecture, we are going to write a batch script that will perform the harvester on each of the particular projects which we are going to specify. So let's go to the terminator and let me type the sources.txt file. So we have all the projects. जिसमें से certificate transparency अपन use कर चुके हैं, that is CRTSH. We have URL scan, we have hacker target, OTX, rapid DNS, Anubis, Bing. We have DNS dumpster, DuckDuckGo, threat miner and binary edge. तो ये जितने प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं, दे डोंट रिक्वायर एन एपीआई की. तो एपीआई की का मतलब है कि यू नीड टू लॉग इन टू देयर वेबसाइट एंड आफ्टर लॉगिंग इन यू नीड टू रजिस्टर योरसेल्फ एज अ यूजर, देन यू विल गेट द एपीआई की. और फिर उस एपीआई की को आप अपनी कॉन्फ़िगरेशन फाइल में सेव करेंगे तो आप इन प्रोजेक्ट्स को यूज़ कर चुके हैं. तो प्रोजेक्ट डिस्कवरी एक काफ़ी अच्छा प्रोजेक्ट है. इसके अंदर एक इनका स्मॉल प्रोजेक्ट है दैट इज सब फाइंडर विच इज़ ऑल्सो यूज टू फाइंड द सब डोमेन्स ऑफ द टारगेट डोमेन. वो भी हम यूज़ करने वाले हैं एंड द नेम ऑफ द टूल इज सब फाइंडर. वो आप गिटहब पे चेक कर सकते हैं. ठीक है, तो वी आर गोइंग टू यूज दीज projects. So let me copy these projects and we are going to use or write a bash script that will perform the harvester against all of the sources which we are going to specify in the bash script. So dash d to specify the subdomain. For example, the subdomain is facebook.com and we have the source which is crtsh and we can just write it to a file called crtsh. So as simple as that. Okay, so let me show you what we are going to do. So first of all, I'm going to open Genie. That's my favorite text editor. And in the start of the bash script, we have shebang. Then we are going to first of all check for the given arguments. Okay, so we have an if condition or a if loop. In that we are going to check for the number of arguments passed to the bash script equals 0. अगर bash script में जो हम number of arguments pass कर रहे हैं अगर वो 0 है, then we are going to perform some code. Else we are going to perform some code and this if loop exits with fi. So this is the simple syntax of creating a if loop in bash programming language. Okay, so what happens if the user passes no arguments, meaning that the user will simply do // passive reconnaissance.sh and we are not going to pass any argument. तो हमें error देना है. ठीक है, error कैसे देंगे हम? We can say what? We can say echo and we can just say negative. You need to specify the target domain. Let me close this and in the another statement what I'm going to do is just a \t which is simply a tab and -e to escape these backslashes. तो अगर मैं यहाँ पे \n लिखूंगा तो वो न्यू लाइन होगा और \t लिखूंगा तो वो एक टैब होगा. आफ्टर दैट आई एम गोइंग टू डू $0. ठीक है, तो बैश स्क्रिप्टिंग की खास बात क्या है कि वी डोंट नीड टू कंपाइल द कोड. पहली चीज़ तो ये. दूसरी चीज़ है कि जितने भी आर्ग्यूमेंट्स हम पास करेंगे, फॉर एग्जाम्पल पहला आर्ग्यूमेंट है आर्ग्यूमेंट 1, दूसरा आर्ग्यूमेंट है आर्ग्यूमेंट 2, तीसरा आर्ग्यूमेंट है आर्ग्यूमेंट 3. okay, now we need to access this thing जो user input दे रहा है. So this is referred by what? This is referred by $1 and the name of the script is referred by $0. Okay, so we are going to do $0, that is the name of the script, followed by what? Domain. So this is a manual showing the user how to use the tool. Very simple thing. And else what we are going to do, we are going to create a variable called domain and the value of which will be loaded from the argument passed by the user. As simple as that. And in the last I'm going to echo the output which is simply the domain, that is the variable holding the value provided by the user. Okay, so a very simple bash script. I already changed the passive reconnaissance.sh to an executable. So let me show you. Do ls, we can see this is an executable. Now what I'm going to do is // passive reconnaissance.sh and I'm going to pass 0 arguments. So that means we will see an instruction called you need to specify the target domain. So let's specify the target domain, that is facebook.com. So as we can see, this is printing facebook.com. That means the script is working properly. Okay, so without going further, I'm going to show you the file saved. So let's do ls. So we have a file called crtsh.json. So this is the file containing the JSON data and what we are going to do is just doing cat crtsh.json and pipe the output of the first command as an input to the JSON command line processor, and we are using the simple identity filter. So as we can see, we got some elements. तो यहाँ पे हमें एक array नहीं मिल रही है, that is the thing. तो अगर यहाँ पे हमें एक array नहीं मिल रही है तो we can simply do hosts, तो हमें सिर्फ host मिल जाएंगे. And if I do this, so I guess we will get all of these values except this square bracket. Okay, so if we need to get the value specifically, so there we go. So this is the regex which we created in the previous lecture, और इस regex को यूज करके हम सारी strings extract कर सकते हैं from the JSON file. Okay, तो ये जो string हमने यहाँ पे create की है इसको हम यूज करने वाले हैं bash script में, ठीक है. So let's go to the bash script, and what is the next thing which we are going to do? So we are going to create an array first of all that will contain all of the sources through which the harvester will go through. और वो क्या है? We can just load it using this. So we have this, let's copy this, and we can just go there and paste it here. So in bash script we can create an array like this. So sources equals, then parenthesis, then we can specify the elements of the array. So this is a way of creating arrays in bash script. Okay. So in the last we have binary edge. So let's try to access the elements of this array. So we can do a $sign, and we have the name of the array which is sources, and to access any element of the array we can just specify the index value. So for example, I want to access this crtsh, so I can simply do echo followed by this. So let's do control is to save this file, and we are going to test the bash script again. So // passive reconnaissance.sh, we can do facebook.com. so in the first line it should print facebook.com because we are doing, okay, in the first line it will print the first element of the array which is the certificate transparency project, and in the second line it is going to print the argument passed by us which is the domain which is facebook.com. So as we can see, this is the output and things are working fine. So this is a way of checking things regularly when you are programming anything. Now the next thing is, my goal is to execute the command called theHarvester. Okay, -d to specify the domain which is stored in a variable called domain, and we can access its value using the $sign. So that is the syntax of the programming language. -b to specify the source, and कोई भी element access करना है हमें तो हम इसको use कर सकते हैं. We can do control V, and हमें 0 नहीं चाहिए, हमें यहाँ पे चाहिए I to specify the index value I. So let's say किसी भी element की index value I है, तो the harvester उसको as a source use करके execute करेगा against the target domain. So in the last we are going to save the output to a file by using -f option. So we can do sources index value and underscore the domain, which we can access using this. All right, so far so good. We have write the code that will do the work. Now first of all, I believe in printing this statement, so using echo, and we can enclose it in quotation marks. Okay, and we can also write like executing this command. Let's do control S to save this, and let's try to do this thing again. So as we can see, this is printing this, but we do have a problem because we are specifying the index value as I. Okay, so I is not defined in this case, so we are going to create a for loop. So for I in 0 to 9, because in this array we have a total of 10 elements, and अगर 10 element है तो index value 0 से लेकर 9 तक होगी. That is very obvious thing. And in bash script we can create a for loop by using this. We can indent this code. Okay, I'm removing this echo domain. This is of no use to us. We can just do done. After this we can do control S to save the code. Okay, so this is going to work. So now what happens is, first of all, it is going to take the value of I as 0, and it will put the value of I here and access the value of the first element of the array, which is the certificate transparency project, and similarly it will go for all the index values of I from 0 to 9. So very simple thing. So let's try to execute the script again, and as you can see we have this right here. So this means the code is working fine. So in the next step we are going to execute the command. अभी तक अपन ने कुछ execute नहीं किया है, so we can just execute this thing. So we can just copy this and let's do Control V to save it. Now in the next step we are going to create another if loop which will just check for the exit status of the process. What happens in bash scripting is we can check the exit status of a particular process. तो ये जो process है, ये जो for loop है, अगर ये properly execute हुआ है, then only we are going to enter this if loop. Otherwise we will not execute the code. And to check that, we can simply do dollar question mark that will return us the exit status of the process. और किसी भी process का exit status या तो 0 होता है या 1 होता है. अगर exit status 0 है, that means the process was successfully executed. So we can do dash eq. That means if the exit status is equal to 0, then we are going to write some piece of code, else we are going to write some piece of code and we are going to close the if loop using fi, which is the reverse of if. Now if the process exited correctly, meaning that the exit status is 0, we are going to perform some things like cat. Now I want to open all the files, so using cat we can open all the files ending with a particular extension, that is JSON, that is a file interesting to us, and we can pipe the output to the JSON command line processor, which is JQ. And the filter we created was very simple. It was the identity filter. We have the host and we need to access the value. Okay, so this is very simple, and what we are going to do is we are going to store all of the contents to a file called what? You can call it domain underscore the harvester. Control S to save. And if the process or if this for loop didn't execute it properly, we are going to exit the code by using exit1. Okay, so these are the basics of bash script. And in the last, what we are going to do, we are going to use another tool called Subfinder, which is part of the project discovery.io, जिसके बारे में हमने बात की थी. But फिलहाल हम इसको और आगे कंटिन्यू करके देखते हैं. So all of the data will be saved to this JSON file. Okay, this file. All right, now the thing is I want to calculate the number of total hosts discovered so far, which is equal to the value returned from executing this particular Unix command, जो यहाँ पे मैं लिखूंगा. ठीक है, वो command क्या होगा? That is going to be cat, and we are going to open this file and we are going to pipe this to wc-l to count the number of lines, and then we can do an echo statement that will do total hosts discovered by the harvester are the value returned from total host. So a very simple piece of code we have. Okay, so I guess we are good to go. और अभी तक अपने को कोई प्रॉब्लम आई नहीं होगी इस स्क्रिप्ट में. Okay, so total host is equal to the value returned from this command, which will simply opens this file, which is domain underscore the harvester, that is facebook.com underscore the harvester, and we are piping the output to wc, that will simply count the number of lines, and we already just filtered using this JSON command line processor filter. Okay, so let's just try this script once, but before that I have another idea, which is to create a directory called domain, right? So we are creating a directory called domain and we are navigating to that particular directory. So we have domain. So after checking for the arguments, this script will create a directory called facebook.com and it will change the directory to facebook.com. After that, we are going to enter this for loop and execute the harvester against all of the sources, and then it will return us with this thing, total host discovered by the harvester are total host. And in the last, I'm going to use another tool, which is Subfinder, which is another tool of discovering subdomains. So dash D to give it the subdomain, which is simply the input, which is domain. And we can do what? We can simply do this. We don't need to do that. We can do dash dash silent, and we will store everything to a file called domain underscore subfinder. And in the next step, we are going to open the file called domain underscore subfinder, and we are going to pipe it to wc to count the number of lines in it. We don't need JSON in this case. Okay, and in the last, we can just do echo, and to use echo, we need to first store this in something. So we can see number is equal to a dollar sign, and we have this thing. So this will contain the number of hosts discovered by Subfinder. So we can do plus sign. So it is going to say total hosts discovered by our. So this is the complete bash script. I guess we are good to go. Let me check the script again. So first of all, we are going to check for the given arguments. We have the number of arguments passed to the bash script equals 0. That means we are going to pass an error. And after that, we are going to create the directory, okay, and navigate to that directory. Now we are going to enter the for loop, which is having the index values from 0 to 9 to access the elements of the array. और हमारी जो array है वो ये है sources, that is equal to all the sources, and we need to remove this as well. I guess you can do control S, and I guess we are missing something. Yeah, so we can sort the domains in alphabetical order. I guess that is good for us. So to execute this command, we can just, okay, so I can just pipe it to sort dash u. So this will sort all the domains or the subdomains in the alphabetical order, और फिर उसके बाद में इसमें हम उसको स्टोर कर देंगे. That is the final thing. We can do control S to save the script, and I guess we are good to go. So let's try running this script right here. So we can do ls, we have nothing here. We can do // passive reconnaissance.sh. We can do facebook.com, and as we can see, the script is running perfectly. We have jq.hosts. Okay, so I'll wait for the command to finish and then I'll just show you. So as we can see, we have the first statement, which is executing the harvester against URL scan, and before URL scan we have it against the CRTSH. So sometimes it may show us some problems like no IP is found, no email is found. You can just try running the command again and it will work. So we can just go to the bottom, and as you can see, it is continuously working. So currently it is running against OTX and saving all the data to odx_facebook.com as expected by us. Okay, so that is very cool. So this is the power of bash scripting. We can automate all the tasks and we can get the results. We can get total number of domains. Okay, so this is the code. I'll provide a link to this code in the resources of this lecture. Okay, so total hosts discovered by Subfinder are this, and total hosts discovered by the harvester are total hosts. So this is the script. Let's wait for the script to finish. And meanwhile, if we split the terminal horizontally and we can do ls, we have a folder called facebook.com. So let's try navigating to that folder, cd facebook.com, and we can do ls. And as we can see, we have all the files created here. So all of these JSON files will contain the data which is gathered by the harvester. Okay, so we can just do like cat, we can have hacker target underscore facebook.json. That is a file interesting to us. We can just pipe the output to jq, and we can use the basic identity filter. We can use hosts, we can access the values, and we can again sort all the things in alphabetical order. So as you can see, this is ending with z-p3, facebook.com followed by the host. So this lecture was basically to show you the power of bash scripting. So as we can see, we have the total hosts discovered by the harvester are 22,217 subdomains, and total hosts discovered by Subfinder are 8,677. So this is the power of bash scripting. You can achieve anything if you know the programming language. All right. And some points I would like to mention here is, first thing is we are getting some errors, and these errors are because of the filters we are using. Okay, and to remove these errors you can just simply enter a question mark in the end of the filter. Next thing is you can write this echo statement in a nice form by using a \n, and you can escape the new line characters by using the -e option as well. Okay, and in the last we can just do another -e option, and you can add some more \n. So rest the script is all good. We can see the power of this script, and to bypass the errors you can just add this question mark in the last of the filter. So that is simply the trick which I've read from the documentation of the JSON command line processor JQ, which is a very nice tool, and learning this tool is very handy when you are solving any box of HTTP. So this lecture is a must for all the students who want to solve any box on Hack the Box Academy. So that was all about this lecture. मिलता हूँ आपसे अगले lecture में. Till then, have a wonderful day ahead and thank you.